Autumn is a beautiful time of year to learn a very important lesson, not just on impermanence, but on ignorance itself. And ignorance is an active misknowing, a misunderstanding of the way things actually exist. Now, wherever there is suffering, there is necessarily ignorance. And wherever there is wisdom, there's no ignorance. So when you develop your wisdom, you also decrease your suffering. Two very powerful elements of ignorance are what are called Dakzin and Denzin. Dakzin means clinging to a self or ego grasping, and there are two types. There is the type that is an artificial grasping at a self, and then there's the innate grasping at a self or self-identity. And this is the root of most of our problems, because there's an overestimation of how much joy something can bring us or how much threat something has to us. Now, in most world religions, the idea of there being some kind of lasting, eternal substance, some kind of self. In Hinduism, they call it the Atma, and in Christianity, they call it the soul. And it is this idea that there is a permanent self that endures throughout time. And we can look at ourselves and realize that that's not true. Because I look at the little white that's starting to come in here and around there. My teacher likes to call that messages from Yama, the Lord of Death, saying, "I'm coming soon." So I have transformed so much since I was a child. And day by day, we are changing and changing. But what about this idea of a substance within me, a soul, or an Atma? Now, the no-self theory in Buddhism, this part that we're talking about right now, this self-grasping in Sanskrit, is called Atmagraha. Atmagraha. This idea that something changeless is happening within me. But how does something changeless have a relationship with something that's changing? All of my senses, my body, my mind never sit still for a moment. And that's very important if we want to exact change for the better in our reality, in our lives. We know that this is the case, when we go to college and we're planning a career and so on. We know that we can change and transform into the thing that we're wanting to become. Now, Buddhism suggests that we should aspire for perfection, becoming perfected like a Buddha. That a Buddha was once imperfect, and through the purification of his consciousness, removed those impurities. And one of the impurities that was removed was the Dakzin. And particularly in achieving nirvana, which is a lower goal in Mahayana Buddhism, but it's much higher than the rest of us are living in right now, that when one reaches the path of seeing, when one has a direct perception of emptiness, these the emotional obscurations are removed. And with that are the artificial grasping at a self. Now, what's remaining for the next 7 bhumis, which are called the impure bhumis, is the subtle, that's what I'm looking for, obscurations, which are the innate grasping at a self. And that is this illusion that we are separate from all of our reality, that I am somehow unaffected by the world around me. Now, that then plays into the second one, obscuration, which we talked about at the beginning, is called Denzin. And Denzin translates as truth grasping, but it's more of a seeing reality as real. And that's why the autumn is a wonderful teacher, because, in the summer you see the green, the lush colors of the plants and the grass, and there's no real thought behind, this is going to change in the fall. There's just to enjoy it while it's there. But when the fall comes along, we see the colors change, and it teaches us that the seasons are a reminder of the impermanence of reality. Everything is changing and transforming. Now, if you're lucky to live in the tropics, you don't have to go through the snowy seasons that we will in the next few months. But this is a perfect opportunity to reflect on how everything in nature is changing and transforming. And we ourselves are changing and transforming. And that little nugget of wisdom can really help reduce the ignorance of Dokzin and Denzin.